Take a minute and open up a Google Doc or a physical notebook and get ready to take some notes. And as you're taking notes, I want you to pay particular close attention to really the vocabulary that's in bold and the examples that I'm going to talk about with the vocabulary. And this is really an introduction to geography. So what is geography and what's the difference between a geographer and a historian? A geographer really asks questions about where things are on Earth and why they're there, and an historian really asks about when things happened and why they happened. A couple of other differences is a geographer will identify locations of important places, and the historian studying similar things will identify important events and the dates of those events. A geographer will explain why one human activity is found close to another one, and a historian will explain why human activities follow one another chronologically. Geographers ask where and why that's important, while a historian will ask when and why something happened. And then finally, geographers organize their information in space, where historians will organize information in time. We've all seen timelines for what we do in history classes, and geographers do the same type of thing, the same type of science. They just do it in terms of space. So the five things we're really going to talk about today, five definitions, are place, region, scale, space, and connection. And this is how a geographer will answer the question to where and why. A place is a specific point on the Earth's surface distinguished by a particular characteristic. And I'm going to use as examples for these five things my home state of Illinois. So Illinois is characterized by a particular shape that is fairly identifiable. I think everybody in this class would identify this as a state of Illinois. It's bordered by rivers on all sides and the Great Lakes to the north. It's got states from the surrounding region to the east, west, and to the south of it. A region is the next section. It's an area of Earth distinguished by a particular characteristic. To stick with the theme of my home state of Illinois, it's located in the region of the Midwest. So all of these states up here share a similar characteristic in climate and agriculture production. So industry are all very similar, and they have that same characteristic that links them together, not just by common geography, but by other commonalities as well. The next part would be scale, and scale in Illinois is really, well, the relationship between that portion of the Earth being studied and the Earth as a whole is the definition. But scale in Illinois, if you look at it at a rural level, it's separated by primarily rural areas with a couple of large urban areas. And in a rural area, people would obtain products and goods from a lot of local markets, but also have access to international trade if they have transportation available to go to local urban areas. And then the urban areas are really much more connected to international trade. There are a lot more things that are available to them there. But really, when we talk scale on the global scale for Illinois, you have to talk about a company called Archer Daniels Midland. Well, everybody knows Illinois produces a lot of grain. They produce a lot of corn and a lot of soybeans. And Archer Daniels Midland is a company that processes those into goods that can be used worldwide. And they are the number one exporter of corn and corn products in the entire world. So people all the way on the other side of the world in other countries, if they have imported American grain, most of that very well comes through the brokers at Archer Daniels Midland. So moving on, space refers to the physical gap or interval between two objects. And you look at the state of Illinois from north to south as a distance of about 390 miles. But two specific objects could be the capital city of Springfield, Illinois, and Chicago, which is about 203 miles apart. So Illinois can really encompass some fairly vast spaces between cities, between features, and between people. Connection refers to the relationships among people and objects by the barrier of space. Well, the way we overcome most of that anymore is through travel, and air travel is something that's accessible to the citizens of Illinois from multiple locations and airports. There are a few international airports located in Chicago, or I'm sorry, in Illinois. One of them obviously is Chicago O'Hare, but also some of the smaller airports offer international travel within North America and the linking for airports to take them to other places in the world. Well, let's look at one other place besides my example, and this will be the island of East Timor. So the place that we're going to talk about is the Democratic Republic of East Timor, and it is located on the eastern part of an island that is primarily the territory of Indonesia. That's the place. The region that geographers refer to here in the upper right-hand corner, they identify that as Southeast Asia, one of the major regions in the world. For scale, this picture in the lower left-hand corner shows a rural area in East Timor, which is primarily rural villages where people would obtain their goods and services from local markets and local people. But also the capital city of Dili has access to international products. So supermarkets in the capital bring in products from Indonesia, China, New Zealand, and Australia. Space in East Timor can easily be identified by the largest mountaintop or the highest elevation, which is Mount Ramulo, which is about 70 kilometers or only 43 miles from the capital city. Now, this distance between the capital and Mount Ramulo takes about 5 hours to drive by car, followed by a 5-hour hike. So space, even though it's small, can be quite significant without adequate infrastructure and roads. And finally, connection. There is an international airport in East Timor that connects to Australia, Indonesia, and Singapore, which offers its citizens the ability to travel worldwide. So 5 terms in geography used to define one place called East Timor. Now, before you return to the conference, please go back to your notes. Make sure you've noted the definitions of all 5 of these terms: place, region, scale, space, and connection, and include an example for each of those as well, because you're going to be asked to do this for yourself, for a place that you've lived. So I want you to make sure you have all those noted really well when we return and discuss this further in the conference.